How about the level side of Death Star 2 Endurance here? What's the basic idea? It's the very last level. The player has unlocked, of course, all of the other missions. So what's this about?
Well, it's basically we just wanted to have some fun and actually challenge the player, really challenge the player, because we figured by this time the player's quite good at the game if he's been able to unlock this level. So we decided to do something like an old school classic arcade game where there is no end in sight. Basically, just wave upon waves of TIE fighters and every Imperial craft imaginable, and we throw it at the player, and he only has very limited life. I think just one life actually.
Yeah.
And so he has to survive. It's kind of like a little salute to the hardcore gamers out there, who still remember the old Pac-Mans or the Galagas or the Galaxians.
So in general, I mean, does it also, was that the foundation for Rogue, or what would you think where the game comes from most, the arcade side, or is it more the simulation side, which was done before on the PC side of things?
Well, I think we take the best of both worlds. I mean, we take the user friendliness of a classic arcade game where you just put a coin in there, pick it up, and have fun for your first 5 minutes. We have that, and then we have the complexity and the depth of your typical PC sim game, where it's like you do more than just blow stuff up.
Yeah.
You have to protect things, you have to escort things, you have to hit things strategically. You have to actually, and in Rogue Leader, you actually command wingmen.
Something which you couldn't do in an arcade game just because of the shortness of an individual coin.
Definitely. It's a different mentality. I mean, for a stand-up arcade coin-operated game, the whole idea is to get as much coinage from the player as possible. So obviously, gameplay is very short, very quick, and it usually is very hard for the player to continue playing over and over again. Where when you buy a game for console use, you want the experience to last quite a bit of time because you want value for the player.
So what's your favorite arcade game?
Well, favorite arcade game of all time, probably the original Star Wars arcade game, or maybe Galaxian.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, we're here with Jens Petersam, which is one of the senior programmers at Factor 5, and who worked on Rogue Squadron, Animaniacs, and a lot of other games. And Thomas Engel, our technical director, once again. First point to talk about, Jens, you did a lot of the cutscene programming, but also special effect programming on both Rogue Squadron and Rogue Leader. What's the trick about special effects for video games?
Well, that's actually easy. Loads of particles, which you can never have enough of. Good looking explosions, also extremely important. And actually enough time to do all that, which is usually a little short. So,
he wants to say if it sucks, then it is actually not his fault. It's just time. The space-time continuum basically killed him.
It's just that I can't be blamed for everything.
That's true. So what's different from the movies, for example? I mean, when do you decide to do something over the top, which in the movie is different?
Well, the movie unfortunately doesn't really show us much. I mean, there is no battle in the movie going on any kind of level that we have, on type notes or terrain or anything. So this is all just pure fiction we tried to come up with. What could it look like? What could fit in the Star Wars universe?
So not even in the Hoth battle in the movie you ever see how lasers really hit the snow and everything, right?
No, well, sorta. I mean, when something hits, then it's usually a puff of black smoke. But the lasers themselves, I mean, when you look at the movie, you go by it like frame by frame. You can see that the lasers are just painted in there anyways. And that even when they hit somewhere, the effect doesn't even show up in the proper location. So they usually cover that up with something really large, like a black cloud of smoke or an explosion of sorts. And that's actually the most that you ever get to see in one of these movies of special effects. So it's really not much choice there. So coming up with something more, which we need in these games, is a little bit difficult because you have no template on what to base it on. To invent something that might look kind of cool, but not completely violate what you're used to seeing in pictures.
The explosions are done how? That's basically just little movies?
Yeah, the explosion there consists of, about 40 individual frames of animation, actually neatly blended against each other so they yield 80 frames. And that's actually all you can consider this as a small movie, if you so will. It's actually just a collection of textures, plated sequence.
Yeah. Thomas, how about what was the biggest problem on Rogue Leader compared to previous games in terms of size?
Size. Every aspect? About everything, actually. If people think about next-gen games, they want to see something really, well, quote-unquote, next-gen, which mostly means breathtaking, large, huge, never seen before, whatever, stereo, quadruple funny, stereo visuals, whatever, colorful, blah. And all this in all aspects of the whole production actually enlarges things greatly. We have more visuals, more audio, more whatever, and every part of the system is stretched quite thin. Also had to learn our IS guy, good old Rene, who was very proud of his new very professional server and backup system and whatever, and we were all so happy with it and could back up everything in no time. And we were saying, well, we don't do that full motion video stuff, we just do real games with real-time generated graphics, so the data won't really get that big. Well, these days actually we have problems with backupping the data, not size-wise actually that much, but time-wise, because people are here. As we sit here, it's actually dark outside, and people are here pretty much 22 hours of the day, and he has actually a problem backing up the remaining 2 hours of the day without disturbing the overall production. So it's pretty big.
It's also size-wise quite enormous.
Nevertheless.
Years ago on what was it? Rebel Assault 2 PlayStation, which was nothing but full motion video, we already had to deal with loads of data just for the video.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, oddly enough, everything still fit on a single 9 gigabyte hard drive on the server. And now it had to be a, 202 gigabyte RAID system.
And that does not cover our full motion video needs for the little video snippets that you see on the front end.
No,
By far not.
For that we needed about 400 gigabytes on a very cheap server.
Yeah.
And the problem is really also backing up that data. It's just taking forever. I mean, of that 202 gigabytes on the server, about 90 are only available. So you do the math and you know what data we're currently handling here.
Yeah, it's quite a bit that you need to push around, and if you know that Gamecube discs are just 1.5, 1.6 gigabytes, I think roughly size-wise, then expect 10, 20-fold that amount of data actually sitting on a server at the game development company, because people have to keep versions, they have to keep data material that they actually can edit. That's not just sitting there in the final form. So it's pretty huge.
Mm-hmm.